So I'm Gregory Donovan, and
Maggie Galvin.
and we are here coordinating the Open CUNY Academic Medium, which tries to work with students and faculty here at the Graduate Center to interact with the public using open source media, both media and platforms. And we've co-hosted a number of hackathons here as well recently as our first crypto party, and we're excited to have Alfredo here for today's Techno-Activism Third Monday. Alfredo Lopez is a founder of May 1st People Inc. He's also the coordinator of People of Color Techie Training Program and the tech columnist of This Can't Be Happening. He was also, among many other things, part of the leadership of Puerto Rico's leadership of the Puerto Rican student movements of the United States. Do you want to add anything, Maggie?
I think you got it all.
All right, cool.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and thanks for having me. Thanks for being here. It's a great pleasure to be sharing the evening time with you all. I want to talk about what it's like to develop something like May 1st People Inc. and why it's important and why it's worth the time and effort, both of which are considerable in putting this type of thing together. So let me explain a little bit about who we are as May 1st People Inc., whether you know us or not. Some people probably have heard of us or may even know us from dealing with us. We're a membership organization. We're a membership organization of the left, of the progressive movement. By membership organization, I mean you join. It's not like you pay a monthly something and like a provider does. Even though we are an alternative provider, the alternative structure that we offer is a membership organization. So just like any membership organization you might belong to, where members make decisions, share the resources, lead, hopefully, through some kind of process, and are led by some kind of leadership, that's who we are. We are a membership organization of the progressive movement, which means that when people join, there's a series of things that you agree to. Now, from my point of view, almost anybody in their right mind would agree to the stuff that we put forward being a membership, but a lot of people in this country ain't in their right mind, apparently politically. And so what we're trying to do with that is to define people. You're progressive. You're pretty much a left-wing people. We have liberals, everything from liberals to revolutionaries in the organization. As far as membership goes, there are about 800 of us. That includes organizations. About half of the 800 right now, 796 as of this afternoon. About half those people are organizations. And they have members in their own right. Overall, our estimate of how many people are within the larger May 1st People Inc. Family is about 2,500 people. Although we are not as tight as with those figures as I would like to be and we would like to be, and hopefully we will be, but that's how many people we have. So that's who we are. And we started through a merger between two organizations. Started about 8 years ago. One was People Inc., which was a provider basically concentrating on people of color and some organizations just like May 1st People Inc., but much smaller. And then something called the May 1st Technology Collective, which provided and brought us technology abilities. I used to run People Inc., and my technology abilities were scant. But with this powerhouse association, we were able to create the organization that we are. And it has been a lot of work to do it. Now, the question really that a lot of people ask me is as follows. I've been part of the left-wing movement in this country now for 47 years. And I've done all kinds of organizing. And actually, I think people should ask me this question. Not that many people ask me nothing about this, but I'm gonna make believe a lot of people ask me this question. And they say, why in the world would you spend the time actually trying to build up this technology organization? Or for other people ask themselves the question, why in the world do we have this? What's important about it? And the grain of it is to understand, it's the question of how you understand the internet and how we project our understanding of the internet. And we view the internet as a movement, as an organic human response. This is a point at which the human race faces enormous crisis. And if it's not able to resolve that crisis, if it's not able to confront the problems that face us, it'll be extinguished. And the human race instinctively knows that. And it has developed and latched onto this thing called the internet. Now, people can argue with this. They say, nah, it comes from a lot of different places. Yeah, we know it comes from a lot of different places. The internet is a combination scientific military institution. So it wasn't put together by progressives. But the reality is, more than 1 billion people, approaching 2 billion people now, use the internet. And that's not the military doing that. There's a reason why people use the internet. It's not chance. And we say that the reason is that people have a thirst to collaborate and communicate. They're desperate to do that. It is the human's response to the partialization, to the compartmentalization, to the separation that the ruling classes of the world try to foster and force upon us, to keep us apart. They benefit from keeping us apart. We struggle to tear down those walls and differences and to be collaborative and be together. And the greatest example of that will for collaboration, which characterizes all human history, is the internet. The fact of the matter is, you cannot survive without collaboration. You can't exist alone. You have to collaborate. And this is an example of that as far as we're concerned. So that is why we create this organization, based on that collaboration and that need for collaboration. Movements spring from human activity, and this is the internet as a movement springs from this kind of activity. So what does it actually mean? How do you translate these needs that we have as a human race and this understanding of the internet to actually building an organization? What is the proper way to do it? Well, I mean, one thing is we're trying to still figure that out, and we're constantly working on figuring it out. But we know some stuff that we're pretty sure works. In the technology area, we are pretty sure that an embracing of free and open source software at an almost fanatical level, which is the way we do it, is very, very important. We view this politically. First of all, FOSS is better than most commercialized garbage that you use. Just is better. I mean, I use, in the office on my computer, I use a Linux system, which is superior to any other operating system I've ever used on a desktop computer. Just period, hands on. So it's obviously better. But that's not the only reason. The real reason is understanding how the internet has developed as an outgrowth of the collaborative instinct that the human race has. What we have done to build everything in our lives. All society, all technology, all understanding, all capability, all of that built collaboratively. Software that responds to that collaborative instinct, that collaborative need, and that recognizes it, is the software that we should always promote. And free and open source software celebrates the idea that no matter how good you are and how much you've contributed, you are never alone contributing. It is a process that involves many, many people. And ideas, labor, and achievement simply can't be owned. If it's going to keep going, it has to stay open. So free and open source software is one of the areas on which we stand. We also believe in conducting activities and struggling around the whole issue of women and people of color in technology. And this has been one of the major flags that we've consistently flown. Women and people of color are minorities in technology. And technology responds in a fairly brutal way when women and people of color try to move forward or try to raise issues about sexism and racism in technology. We just saw that through the Andrea Richards incident. I was just telling Sandy, or I was just chatting with Sandy about this before we started. One of the columns that I wrote when I write for This Can't Be Happening was on Andrea Richards. Andrea Richards is the person who was at a Python conference, and some foolish fellas were making stupid sexist jokes, and she outed them by turning around, taking a photo of it with her cell phone and posting it. She actually then called over the conference organizers. There was a big hullabaloo. One of the two guys got fired, and then so did Andrea Richards. There was this huge backlash. Oh my God! It was as if she had Attila the Hun the world, and she had to hide. She's had to literally hide. From I mean, she's underground. This woman who's never done anything. I mean, if anybody should be underground technology, people like me should be underground, who've actually done stuff, and been on FBI lists and have been denied passports and stuff like that. Andrea Richards, she's just a corporate person who does spokespeople, or what do they call it, advocacy stuff within technology. And she can't handle that, being underground and having death threats and everything like that. She wasn't used to it. They went crazy on her, bonkers. And so you have to ask the question, why? She didn't do anything. And in answering it myself, I've come to feel, we can discuss this, and you can disagree with me, but I've come to feel that there is a fundamental issue in technology, or a fundamental part of the technology we've developed, that can't stand the idea of women being empowered. And I think, as a man of color, that is the case as well. I think that it's really difficult to be a person of color, or a man of color, as I am, a Puerto Rican man, and work in the technology field. It's really difficult. Even at this point, where I'm this big shot hullabaloo type guy in May 1st People Link. And also I'm old, I'm 64 years old, so they don't dare, Everybody say, yeah, okay, Alfredo. But even so, every day of my life, it really is a struggle to actually cope with the question of technology. When they start talking, all these techies start talking back and forth, all of this stuff, it is so frightening that sometimes I actually start trembling. And I understand half of what these guys are saying, 3/4 of it. It's like you're shown the power they have, and the power you don't. And I have a feeling I know for a fact, because I deal with a lot of activists of color, that one of the problems with technology is that, and one of the problems with the embrace of free and open source software is that they are more comfortable with the commercialized software because it requires less interaction, they feel, with the technology itself and with the code, et cetera, et cetera. They just don't trust it. And so both of those questions are really, really important questions. How we confront them. We confront them as best we can. One way that we do it is we have the only spiffy Daniel Kangilmo taught me Hatsi-Tatsi. I used to say hoi polloi, and he corrected me. He said, hoi polloi is like low. You mean Hatsi-Tatsi? I said, yeah, Hatsi-Tatsi. And I've used the word addictively. Like my wife thinks I'm another human being now since it taught me. We have this Hatsi-Tatsi program in which it's the only one of its kind. It's called the People of Color Techie Training Program. And what we do is, over a year's time, we just finished up the first phase of it. Over a year's time, activists of color work with a mentor, a technology mentor, a frontline server administrator person, on learning how to be server administrators. We have 4 face-to-face meetings with them, which, we talk about their progress and also racism in the field and all the other kind of stuff. And then we have constant contact over a year's period, year's time, on how they're doing. Are you learning to develop, are you learning how to install? They have all installed Linux operating systems on their own little computers that we give them as part of the program. They've all installed specific protocol capabilities, like all the email and stuff like that they need to do. Obviously, if Apache as well with the for web service capabilities, and then they specialize off of their own work. So we ask them the question, what in your work pops out as something that you really need to learn to do? So one woman is doing a radio server, because she works for Occupy Boston Radio. So she's doing a radio server. Another person is working on a web service capability and setting up a Linux network in the office of his organization. And then we mentor that all along in weekly phone calls and monthly get-together meetings. That's something May 1st People Inc. has done and led. And it's something that no one else has done. And so we try to address those 2 problems that way. But there's one more problem, before I get to what we do outside the organization, one more problem within the organization that we address, and that is the question of control, choice, and use of your own internet. One of the things that happens when you work with a commercial provider is the commercial provider often dictates what you can and are able to do. Not only do they do it through a bunch of rules, but they do it because they charge you for every damn thing you want to do. You don't have control over your resource. So a commercial provider will say, yes, you can have a website and 5 email. Well, actually, I need 2 websites. Okay, so we'll double the charge, right? I mean, you're charged for... So what happens is, if you're an organization, we have an organization I used to work for in Washington called the Praxis Project. And Praxis Project has 14 websites with May 1st People Inc. Now, why do they have 14 websites? Because they're doing 14 pieces of work that should be supported. So the more work you do, very often, the more websites you may need. Commercial provision punishes that by forcing you to pay. And in that way controls the growth of the movement and your growth as an organization. We don't charge you for nothing. You pay your dues. If you want to have 1 million websites, if you want to have 1 million websites, I'm going to throw you out because you're insane. But if you want to have 20 websites, some people have 20 websites, or 16, or 11, or stuff like that. If you want to have that many, you're welcome to it. You have an unlimited capability, an unlimited right to the resources of the organization. Now, people say, you're crazy to do this because it's not cost effective. In fact, it has proven more than cost effective. There is a way in which the number of websites you use, the cost of that is illusory. You can actually do a lot more with your websites. Yes, sure. There are problems that you have when you have many websites on a particular server running. There's a lot of strain on the server, and there is tech support issues. But for the most part, commercial providers tell you that stuff so they can make money off of you. We would much rather have you working and doing effective work on our servers as an organization and contributing your political work to the rest of the organizations in May 1st People Inc. than have to make $1 million off of you. And we are not broke by any way. I mean, we are a functional organization. We continue to grow. We continue to purchase new equipment. We continue to thrive. So, no, we're not rich, but we ain't dying either. One thing that we cannot do, however, is we cannot maintain a very large full-time, we don't have a full-time staff, but we can't maintain a very large staff that's paid. Most of our staff is volunteer. In fact, our top leadership are volunteers. I am a volunteer. I make my money elsewhere. So how do you do that? How do the functionalities of a server, a server provider, translate to an organization that doesn't have a paid staff? This is part of the process that we're constantly figuring out. I mean, I'm not giving you anything here that's written in stone. I'm not giving you any solutions. But one thing that we do that has proven effective is that we do have a staff that concentrates. We do have some paid people concentrating on technical support, and we have paid particular attention to the development of a cohesive team and family of technologists, most of whom are not paid. In other words, people who are our techies are given a whole lot of clout and a whole lot of props. In most cases, in the movement, the progressive movement, and in our society in general, technologists are treated like plumbers. All they do is, they tell them, the only time any regular normal human beings talk to a techie is when when something's broken. The rest of the time they don't want to know nothing. And so they come to you, and that's why techies, we are like, the culture is a little bit different than the average mainstream culture. Even me, who's just a normal guy, we do have some weirdnesses to us. There is a little bit of ingrowth, but there's a whole lot of the need for protection among techies. A whole lot of need for having a solidarity that gives us a comfort level. Well, we do that and we push it. Our techies meet in a face-to-face every month. Various well-paid, very famous locations. Daniel's house is one location. God bless him.
Are we invited next time?
Daniel's a wonderful. I don't know what we would not do what we do without Daniel Kahn Gilmore, and he's one of my dearest and most wonderful friends. So I love him dearly. Even though we have a whole bunch of crapload of political differences and stuff, I've been fighting for years, but I love him. And Daniel's like one of our main techies, and so he could tell you a lot about how those techies work together. But we have paid a lot of attention to that type of cohesiveness, and that helps enormously. When you have those kinds of techies who have a political interest, a personal relationship, and feel respect, they provide the support and the technological work that's required. They also, as technologists, allow this organization to reach out to the movement in general. And if May 1st is known for anything, if there is anything that differentiates us from a commercial provider, it is our political work. May 1st People Inc. is the technology leader of the U.S. Social Forum, and we have been all along. We are on the National Planning Committee of the U.S. Social Forum. We're leaders of the United States Social Forum. We are involved in the World Social Forum. We are on the coordinating board of the Association for Progressive Communications that does like barrelfuls of campaigns internationally. And we're at a bunch of different coalitions. Magnet, which is a media coalition. A bunch of different ones that we're involved in. We have a heavy-duty investment in the climate change movement. And then, of course, as I've been telling some people, we go to many conferences, or not many, but we try to go to many conferences if we can afford them. And so we'll be appearing at, Left Forum in New York City. You know Left Forum? You're in their building. Left Forum in New York City, upstairs is Seth Adler. It's percolating. We do a lot of the technology for them and do workshops and stuff, and Allied Media Conference in Detroit. We do all that kind of work. We do that work as part of the movement, but we do that work to hold up a banner about technology. And I'll end with this. The left in this country, particularly in the United States of America, needs to make an adjustment, a major adjustment, in terms of its vision of technology. Right now, the majority of the progressive and left-wing movements in this country use technology as if it was a faucet out of which water flows, as if it was a typewriter or something, as if it was a computer. And without understanding the dynamics involved in technology and the potential that technology has. The powers that are in the United States see that and are progressively seizing the power over that technology. And if you saw recently the AP, the thing that AP reporters, the phone seizure that they did in AP. In the United States of America, under the noses of the American people, the whole issue of privacy, which is the constitutional fulcrum of internet capability, has been erased. Legally, you have no more privacy. And so, how do we fight back? Well, the first thing we do to fight back is we understand that there is no privacy, why they took it away, and how that's connected to internet work. And then we start fighting to take back that privacy and take back our internet. That is a priority that the movement in this country has. You folks, as technologists, have a responsibility to scream that at the left and progressive movement in this country. Not give up, but not let them just walk away from it or turn their backs on it. For the struggle against racism, struggle against sexism, and the struggle to preserve privacy and our ability to actually move forward, we have to hold our movement, our left-wing movement, accountable to the freedom of the internet and our control of the internet. I'm going to stop right there, and I think you guys are going to ask questions, right?
Yeah, any questions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Sumana.
Hey there. I'm Sumana. I work for the Wikimedia Foundation. Thank you very much for your work. I've been interested in it in some time, and I'm really grateful to hear this overview of where you stand, what kinds of stuff you've been up to. This is where I dive into details that I'm worried like 80% of these people might not care about, but I am fascinated. I want to hear more about the internship program because I've been working on similar stuff around women, around people of color. It's so important to not just have a gossip-based, proximity-based learning system for tech. Like, it shouldn't depend on you having a cool older brother who taught you stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, because that's how so many people got into it. They just fell into it through, like, the black hole of the cool guy at the bus stop. Mm-hmm. So, myself included. So, there was a guy who gave me a copy of, like, Wolfenstein 3D, and, like, there you go, right? And so, I'm curious about a couple of details. One, how many individual people do you think it takes to run a mentorship program like this? Like, because I always figure it's kind of like you need the mentors, and then you probably also need some additional volunteer administrative support kind of as backup for that. And in your opinion, what's the best mix? Like, if you can't, are you having everybody in New York City, or is there some mix of remote stuff as well?
There's remote stuff. Funny you should mention that. Or I don't think it's funny. It's good that you mentioned it. This is a national program, the one we just did. National. It's all national. Nobody's in New York from that program.
Wow.
No. Is there someone? Well, no, yeah, I was about to mention them. And me! No, yeah, I mean, I was about to give him the other punch. But I think, correct me, I don't believe that any of them are, as I think about it, I don't think any of them are from New York. They're all, cost a lot of money to bring them in.
Yeah.
So, all of them are national. We are starting, we are planning to start a mentorship program in New York City specifically, locally, in September. So we'll be running both programs. We put together a coalition of, in this case, we put together three organizations. The Progressive Technology Project, Praxis Project in Washington, and us. And we sat down and we put together a curriculum. Got it and tried to get, I shouldn't say got it approved. We approved it. I tried to get it approved because I wrote it, and then I passed it by a bunch of people, and then we went and got it approved. And they approved that curriculum.
Yeah.
We recruited 2 extremely white, extrememely male,
So
we
like
did
Arnold
not play.
Schwarzenegger and
Yeah, no, 2 we took it, purposely. 2 white male mentors.
right.
I'm not sure I would do that this second phase necessarily, but I wanted to, and we all agreed, we wanted to test the idea of empowering white techies.
Allies.
Right, exactly. And empower them with the idea that this information is something they could pass on, and their value is enhanced by their ability to pass it on. In other words, they have a role to play.
Yeah.
Almost all of our techies really hate racism a lot, particularly racism. It really bothers them a lot in technology, so we were able to get those mentors. Both of those fellows are, well, one is now in Washington, Nat Meisenberg, and Ross Glober's now in Boston and going to Mexico, so they're not New York guys, because Ross is gone, and Nat went halfway through the program. So myself and my partner, my office partner, Jane McClellan, also worked in the administrative stuff. So there was 4 of us.
Right.
3 mentees to a mentor. I think that was too much, and we want to cut that down this time.
My
Put
experience says you're right. That is too much.
one mentor to every 2 mentees. And so that's the way we're going to proceed in the coming period of time. And a lot. The key thing is you go in with a curriculum. Every face-to-face has to include some politics to it. I usually am in charge of that. Give a presentation, like the one I just gave, but about different topics related to women and technology, general politics, racism, technology. Do that, and we have an hour-long discussion, or hour and 50 minutes, whatever. People go around the room. A lot of going around the room at the face-to-faces, and then you got to be real flexible, mad flexible, because people are grasping information in very different ways, and you want to avoid, like the plague, any feeling of school. Because school is an oppressive tool against people of color particularly. I think it's against white people as well. It's an oppressive tool generally in the society. But against a lot of people of color particularly, these are all people who have gone through a bunch, have experience with a bunch of education. And they all hate classroom environment. All of them hate it. So you try to avoid that as much as possible. Does that answer the...
It's helpful. I'm probably just going to interrogate you for like an hour later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Oh, sorry, I did not see you.
Hi, I'm Joe Plotkin, and I ran a ISP for a long time that similar values. And so I'm curious, I'm going to push back a little bit. I'd like to hear some specifics from you in terms of what about the technology that you guys are doing? Are you providing actual access? Are you running, do you have CLAC status? Are you providing broadband to individuals, to companies, to organizations? What do you do specifically, and which technology issues, not the rest of the liberal agenda, but the technology issues are you most focused on?
Well, we are a hosting and email provider as a technology in the limited scope. Those are the resources that we provide. We do not provide access. No, we just don't at this point. So it's not something that we feel we can do. And you know, there was a time. I mean, PeopleLink used to provide access. There was a time when left-wing and progressive providers used to provide access.
Well, I was the marketing director for BWayNet, and we were trying to be the alternative, but it wasn't very lucrative. So the question I have for you is, how is this sustainable? I guess is the larger question. Because, okay, it's great that you're running a mail server, that's terrific, and a web server, that's good, but if people can't run their own servers at home to host stuff, if they don't have the freedom, if they're not aware of those issues, and you know these issues well, you're fighting a very limited action against a much larger, duopoly provider.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we are fighting a limited action. I mean, we're not, which is the reason why we're part of this movement, is because technology is not going to resolve these problems. Technology is one of the ways that we get together, we collaborate, and we actually can have a place to discuss these problems and to work on them. But a couple of things I want to say. I think that we all are working for the day in which people do have very decentralized server capabilities. And we're certainly doing that. I mean, we're certainly looking at it carefully, thinking about it. I would love it for everyone to be able to carry their own server around with them in a small thing, and to have that kind of network capability. For now, we do have this problem of having these centralized servers. We have 100 and some servers, mainly virtual. I think we have 26, 27 machines, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even Daniel knows, I don't know. But we have something like that, and we have, right? Something like that, right? Well, maybe. And we have, in terms of the functionality of the sustainability of our system, we're not sustainable by commercial provider standards. We're not. The average corporation would say, if you have 12 people working on your systems, you got to pay the 12 people full salary and full benefits. We would never be able to do that, nor do we expect to anytime soon, nor is it an immediate goal. Our belief, and the way we proceeded, and the truth, I mean, if we crash at some point, this will be proven to be inaccurate. But our belief is that the way to sustain collaborative work is by giving it a purpose. And that's one of the things that we've done. There's a long tradition in the United States of America. It's a lot forgotten now with the social justice movement to some extent. But there's a long tradition of people basically working in the movement and doing political work without being paid. I mean, that's how I came up. I was working during the day to make a living, and I go do my political work at night or whenever, And for most of my life, I worked like that. And that's sort of how we continue to do it. Now, how sustainable is that is a debate within our organization. And it's, people have different, this is not ideal. It probably would be ideal to be able to have people full-time. The question is, and it's a good question, I'm sure you have the answer. Well, you guys can tell me. But the question is, if you have a paid staff that's doing a series of pieces of work, how easy is it to integrate those who are not paid into the political processes of work and decision-making about that work?
I guess just to clarify, I'm not asking about that part of it. I'm asking which technological issues are you most focused on? Because there are, whether it's the snooping by, the snooping by the government, or the snooping by advertisers? Is it access, or is it free websites? Is it, which of these are your really core technological issues, not the work and racism and all that? Just from a technological point of view, is it copyleft? Is it the abuses of the copyright system and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure. I mean, all of that is, I don't know, I'll pick 2 or 3. No question about it, security is a major issue. And we are one of the organizations, we were raided last year by the FBI, and our servers, one of our servers was seized in a bogus little punk maneuver. The worst, I lost all respect after having been surveilled by the FBI for 40 years and denied a passport for 9 of those years. I actually lost respect for the FBI for what they did when they just took the server for no reason, man. It was like really, really ridiculous. And then they returned it because they couldn't find anything on it. It was an anonymous server. It's like, what are they going to find on it? I mean, we told them it was an anonymous server. Anyway, they took it without our permission. Didn't even tell us. So, I mean, we have a thing around the question of the FBI's intervention, security, which is a major, major issue. And I did say that free and open source software, the protection of data is a major, major question for us. We do encourage the use of certificate-based security, HTTPS, and also of encryption through pretty good privacy protocol with your email and stuff. Signature-based email, signature-based security. All of that. So security is a huge issue for us. I can't say enough the importance of free and open source software to us. It is a major, major issue for our organization. We're constantly pushing it. We try to keep free and all of our operation on free and open source software. While we do fight off DOS attacks, on occasion, that actually is not a major issue for us. We have a much bigger issue with our members doing dunda things like installing stuff on their website that uses so much freaking resource. Servers slow down to molasses. The culture of shared server, which is something that commercial providers don't teach you. What they tell you is you're not going to you just have your website. If you go over this, you're cut, and they cut you off. There's no concept of a shared server. So you don't feel a responsibility to other people. We try to impart on our members that you're responsible to the rest of the membership. But if you bring a server down, obviously you kill it. And so we have those issues a whole lot. I don't know what else. Is there any technical issues, Daniel, that pop into your head?
I'm actually going to interrupt and ask that you guys have this individually. Alfredo, it's been a real thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give me 30 seconds. 30 seconds.